Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Saturday, December 29th, 2018. I'm going to try to be quick here. I'm going to go over the bowl games from yesterday, pick today's bowl games, college hoops, NBA, NHL, 2 baseball free agent signings, and my best bet of the day. Okay, to college football we go. Music City Bowl is a stunner to me. Auburn kills Purdue 63-14. Camping World, not a surprise without Will Greer's. West Virginia goes down to Syracuse by a score of 34-18. And in the Alamo Bowl, Washington State defeats Iowa State 28-26. Today you have the Peach Bowl, number 10 Florida against number 7 Michigan, 12 o'clock on ESPN. Florida 9-3 on the year, 5-3 in conference play. Michigan 10-2 on the year, 8-1 in conference play. These two programs hooked up not long ago, and Jim Harbaugh's team came through victorious. The Gators team vastly overachieved this year, and that's credit to Dan Mullen and the job he has done. The Wolverines have had a great season, as Jim Harbaugh finally has a decent quarterback in Shea Patterson, and I believe Patterson and the Wolverines get the job done and lead the Wolverines to a win. So the pick in the Peach Bowl is Michigan. 12 o'clock on ABC of the Belk Bowl, South Carolina and Virginia. South Carolina 7-5 on the year, 4-4 in conference play. Virginia, same thing. Both of these teams have had some moments throughout the year. The Gamecocks are great offensively and bad defensively. The Cavs aren't good offensively, but somewhat decent defensively. The unit I trust the most on the field today is the Cox offense, led by Jake Bentley. I think they get the win, so give me South Carolina there. The Arizona Bowl, Arkansas State against Nevada, 1:15 on the CBS Sports Network. Arkansas State 8-4 on the year, 5-3 in conference play. Nevada 7-5 on the year, 5-3 in conference play. Both the Red Wolves and the Wolfpack have had moments this year, both good and bad. The better team here is the team that's the underdog. Actually, no, now they're a 2-point favorite, and that's the Wolfpack. And I think they get the outright upset win, so give me Nevada. I'm going to save the semifinal picks for the end of the podcast. So, I'm going to go to college basketball, just going to say the scores. Detroit Mercy defeats Youngstown State 78-66. Georgia Tech defeats Kennesaw State 87-57. South Dakota State defeats Western Illinois 100-58. Number 10 Virginia Tech defeats Maryland Eastern 85-40. Number 20 NC State defeats Loyola Maryland 97-64. Number 11 Texas Tech defeats Texas Rio Grande 71-46. Hofstra defeats Delaware 91-46. Northeastern defeats Drexel 93-83. William & Mary defeats James Madison 79-74. East Carolina defeats North Carolina A&T 77-57. Towson defeats Elan 77-60. Kent State defeats Albany 70-68. Oakland defeats Cleveland State 89-77. Northern Kentucky defeats Illinois Chicago defeats Wright State 75-72 in overtime. Arkansas defeats Austin Peay 76-65. LSU defeats Louisiana Monroe 81-69. Number 18 Marquette defeats Southern 84-41. Texas defeats Texas Arlington 76-56. Air Force defeats UC Riverside 72-60. Omaha defeats Denver 91-84. Number 7, Gonzaga defeats North Alabama 96-51. Utah State defeats East Oregon 84-57. Loyola Marymount defeats UC Davis 77-59. Hawaii Pacific and TCU was canceled, and Purdue Fort Wayne, North Dakota, and South Dakota, North Dakota State were all either canceled or postponed. Today's games, there's a lot of them at 12 o'clock. You have High Point at number 13, Ohio State. Coppin State at Notre Dame, Davidson at number 14, North Carolina on ESPN2, BYU at Mississippi State on ESPNU, Howard, Georgetown, Prairie View, and Winthrop, Wofford, Western Carolina, 1 o'clock, UMBC, Penn State, Tennessee Tech number 3, Tennessee, Fairleigh Dickinson, South Florida, Florida A&M, Memphis, Hampton, St. Peters, Middle Georgia State and Georgia State, Longwood in the Citadel, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Troy, South Dakota and North Dakota State. Purdue, Fort Wayne and North Dakota. Tennessee State and Vanderbilt at 1:30. Harvard, Mercer. Northern Illinois and number 8 Michigan State at 2 o'clock. Southwest Minnesota State against Nebraska. Gardner-Webb, Wake Forest. St. Bonaventure, Syracuse. Number 16 Kentucky at Louisville. That's a big game. I think Kentucky goes out and beats Louisville at the Yum Center. Morehead State at Missouri. Florida Gulf Coast at Ole Miss. Xavier at DePaul. A&M Corpus Christi and Oklahoma State. Eastern Michigan at number 5 Kansas. Santa Clara at Washington State. Cal Poly at Siena. Wagner St. Joseph's. Marist at Hartford. Delaware State at Ball State. American and George Washington. UMass Lowell and Sacred Heart. Number 6 Nevada at Utah. Penn at Toledo. Fayetteville State at UNC Asheville. Dallas Christian at Houston Baptist. McMurray at Abilene Christian. Purdue Northwest at Valparaiso. Campbellsville at Nichols. Arkansas Monticello at UAB. 3 o'clock FAU in Illinois. Maine at Rutgers. Norfolk State at Niagara. VMI at Sanford. McKendree and Drake. Champion Christian at Lamar. North Texas at Rice. 3:30 Texas Southern and Texas A&M. Georgia Southern and Dayton. Colgate at Pitt at 4 o'clock. Campbell in Miami. Butler, Florida. NJIT at number 22 Houston. Richmond in South Alabama. Montana and Northern Arizona. Montana State and Southern Utah. Princeton at number 17 Arizona State. Hood at Robert Morris. Coker at South Carolina Upstate. Furman at East Tennessee. Southeast Oklahoma State at UTSA. 4:30 Belmont, Purdue. 5 o'clock North Florida at number 12 Auburn. Howard Payne at Texas State. Louisiana at Southeast Louisiana. Southern Miss at Louisiana Tech. Chattanooga and UNC Greensboro. Reinhardt and Jacksonville State. Weber State at Eastern Washington. 5:30 CBS Sports Network. Number 15 Wisconsin at Western Kentucky. 6 o'clock Radford, Maryland. New Orleans, Baylor. Liberty, UCLA. Dixie State in Wyoming. Brescia in Eastern Kentucky. 7 o'clock Charleston, UNC Wilmington. Number 21 Buffalo at Canisius. Utah Valley at Fresno State. Oregon at Boise State at 7:30. Bryan at number 24 Iowa. George Mason at Kansas State. San Jose State, St. Mary's. Seattle, California. Central Connecticut State, Oregon State. Stony Brook, Northern Iowa. Brown, San Diego State. Harding, Arkansas State. Green Bay, Milwaukee. Bethel, Murray State, 8:30. A big one in the Big East. St. John's, undefeated record on the line at Seton Hall. It's not on TV, but I'm going to pick the game because it's such a big game and a big game for the St. John's program. I think they're going to suffer their first loss of the year tonight. And no, it's not the worst thing in the world. To me, St. John's has to get at least 10 games in Big East play to clinch themselves a berth in the NCAA tournament. If they're able to knock off Villanova, that would help them. If they're able to knock off Marquette, obviously that would be a big help. But I think they need 10 wins in Big East play to get to the tournament. That would put them at 22 wins, and I think that's enough for them to get in. Portland at Cal State Fullerton at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock UC Irvine Pacific. San Francisco at UC Santa Barbara. Morgan State at Cal State Northridge. Grand Canyon at San Diego. La Verne at Cal Baptist. Idaho State at Idaho. Northern Colorado, Sacramento State, Long Beach State at Stanford at 10:30, and at 11:59, Alabama A&M at Hawaii. I'm just going to go through the scores of NBA real quick. The Hornets defeat the Nets 100-87. The Pacers defeat the Pistons 125-88. The Magic defeat the Raptors 116-87. The Bulls defeat the Wizards 101-92. The Heat defeat the Cavs 118-94. The Hawks defeat the Timberwolves 123-120 in overtime. The Pelicans defeat the Mavericks 114-112. The Nuggets defeat the Spurs 102-99. The Thunder defeat the Suns 118-102. And the Clippers defeat the Lakers 118-107. Just going to do the same thing with hockey before I go over tonight's NBA slate. At 5 o'clock, the Nets at the Bucks. 7 o'clock, the Hornets at the Wizards. NBA TV, the Rockets at the Pelicans. 7:30, the Cavs at the Hawks. 8 o'clock, the Knicks at the Jazz, the Celtics at the Grizzlies. 9 o'clock, the Nuggets at the Suns. 10 o'clock, NBA TV, the Warriors at the Blazers. 10:30, the Spurs at the Clippers. Now I'm going to go to the NHL. Just going to go over the three scores from last night and then look ahead to the games tonight. The Canadiens defeat the Panthers 5-3. The Isles defeat the Senators 6-3. The Maple Leafs defeat the Blue Jackets 4-2. Today's slate at 1 o'clock, you have the Hurricanes at the Devils, 4 o'clock the Wild at the Jets, the Sharks at the Oilers, the Golden Knights at the Kings. 7 o'clock, you have the Bruins at the Sabres, the Islanders at the Maple Leafs, the Capitals at the Senators, the Canadiens at the Lightning, the Flyers at the Panthers. 8 o'clock, the Rangers at the Predators, the Penguins at the Blues, the Red Wings at the Stars. 9 o'clock, Blackhawks at the Avalanche. 10 o'clock, the Canucks at the Flames, and the Coyotes at the Ducks. 2 baseball free agent signings. Jonathan Lucroy signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with the Los Angeles Angels. He provides an upgrade behind the plate for the LA Angels and will be their starting catcher next year. Nelson Cruz signs with the Twins on a 1-year deal, and that is a huge signing for Minnesota. He becomes their DH and will help that lineup tremendously. I did say that I thought the Twins and the White Sox were going to try to improve themselves and sort of rush it a little bit with the Indians trying to cut payroll and whatnot. And it was for $14.3 million, Cruz's 1-year contract. Before I get to my best bet, I'm going to give out my picks for tonight's semifinal games between Clemson and Notre Dame and Alabama and Oklahoma. We'll start the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, number 3 Notre Dame against number 2 Clemson. 4 o'clock ESPN, Notre Dame 12-0 on the year. Clemson 13-0, 8-0 in conference play. These two teams hooked up a few years ago and played a classic game in Death Valley in which the Tigers came away victorious. And I remember Notre Dame went for 2 and went for the win and didn't get it. And that's how that game ended. The Irish have had a phenomenal season and deserve to be in this position, and Ian Book has been great since becoming their starting quarterback. The quarterback change for the Tigers has changed the ceiling of their team, too, from going to Trevor Lawrence from Kelly Bryant. The Tigers have key players suspended for this matchup, most notably Dexter Lawrence, and that could open things up for the Irish's offense to go toe-to-toe with the Tigers. That said, the Tigers are still the better team, and I don't trust the Irish defense to get big stops against the Tigers' offense. Prediction: Clemson 42, Notre Dame 34. The Capital One Orange Bowl, number 4 Oklahoma against number 1 Alabama, 8 o'clock ESPN. Oklahoma 12-1 on the year, 8-1 in conference play. Alabama 13-0 on the year, 8-0 in conference play. This is going to be a fascinating game for so many reasons. The Sooners do belong here over Georgia, courtesy of the fact that they're a conference champion and the Bulldogs are not. Plus, the Bulldogs have 2 losses and the Sooners have 1 and are perhaps a missed field goal away from being unbeaten. And by the way, the Sooners also avenged that loss with their win over Texas in the Big 12 title game. Meanwhile, the Sooners' defense is the worst of the 4 playoff teams, and Tua Tagovailoa and the Tide offense will thrive off of it. Meanwhile, the Sooner offense is the best one the Tide's defense will see all season, so the Tide's defense has a big test at hand. Nick Saban suspended a few players, including a starting offensive lineman, but we won't know how big of a loss those players are until we see how they play on the field. That said, the best player on the field, if the ankle's okay, will be Tua Tagovailoa, and I think the Tide will roll to their 4th straight national championship game. The prediction: Alabama 44, Oklahoma 27. Now I'm going to do my best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. In the NBA, we're going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks, the Utah Jazz. In college football, Clemson and Alabama. And in college basketball, we're going to roll with North Carolina over Davidson, Georgetown over Howard, Winthrop over Prairie View A&M, Troy over Arkansas Pine Bluff, the Citadel over Longwood, Vanderbilt over Tennessee State, Missouri over Morehead State, Syracuse over St. Bonaventure, and I'm going to lay $1 here to win $2.24 with a payout of $3.24. And that's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the college football playoffs, the other bowl games, college basketball, NBA, NHL. I'm going to give you my Week 17 picks and go over anything else that happens in the world of sports. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.